State of Fear, How the UK Government Weaponised Fear During the COVID-19 Pandemic is a book about fear. It's about fear of a virus, fear of death, fear of infection, fear of losing our jobs, our culture, the economy, even our minds. But most of all, it's about how the UK government weaponised fear to make us follow the rules. Even if it was supposedly in our best interests, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we were scared into submission. I interviewed people who were quite undone by fear, people who developed OCDs, agoraphobia, people who self-harmed, even people who had attempted suicide. And alongside them, I've interviewed experts ranging from behavioural scientists and psychologists to government advisors, politicians, lawyers, judges, journalists, to provide context about how fear was used to make people follow the rules. The book starts with Fright Night, as I call it, which is the night that Boris Johnson told us we must stay at home. And it takes you through 1 year of the behavioural science nudge and fear-mongering approach to the pandemic. Fear is natural, and of course it's a good thing. We should be frightened in an epidemic. There's a natural, hard-baked fear of death in us, and that's served a really important evolutionary process. But the government chose to depart from existing pandemic protocol and to deliberately frighten the population. And even if that was done with the best of intentions, fear is destabilising. And I argue in my book that that was unethical and also anti-democratic. And I think that it's one of the lingering stories that we'll be left with when all this is over, when it's done and dusted. I think people are going to look back with horror at the way psychology was weaponised against populations. I'm an author, a photographer, a journalist, and I've made films too. And something that preoccupies me throughout all my work is what makes us who we are, our psychology and taboos. And while previous work has dealt with the taboos of the body, I found once lockdown started, I was really interested in the taboo about fear. You see, epidemics will come and go, but our psychology is here to stay. I feel very honoured to win the People's Book Prize for the simple reason that it's voted for by people. When I wrote A State of Fear, I honestly didn't know if anybody would buy it or read it and what it would even do to my career, because it's quite a controversial premise. So I feel truly honoured and humbled that people bought it, read it, and then voted for it. One thing I really loved about the People's Book Prize award is on the submission page, it allowed people to leave their views. And that was really quite special for me to connect and see what impact the book had on them. There's something that's so joyously democratic about people voting for their favourite books. Books build bridges straight to people's hearts and minds, and you don't always need gatekeepers on those bridges. What you really want as an author is to know that your book reached the people it was written for and that they liked it. That's really all I can ask for. So I'm thrilled.